Hello, Stitchy friends! How is everybody doing? Today is Tuesday, February 18th. My name is Andrew, this is my dog Winston, and this is The Runner Stitcher, my channel where I talk primarily about cross-stitch and a little bit about running. Today is Flosstube episode number 35. 35 episodes. It has been so much fun. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy what you see. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks so much for spending a little time with me again today. I don't think I have a lot to say in the intro today, so we might just jump right into things, but I have not been running. I took the whole week off, and it's just been cold and very snowy, and a lot of mornings it's been icy, so I just took the week off. I will probably get back into it in the next week or so, but no running to share with you this time. And as far as the giveaways for my 5,000 subscriber sort of giveaway video, all of those have been claimed, and all of them but one have been mailed out, and I hope to get that last one out in the mail this week. So thank you so much to everybody who commented, and congratulations again to all the winners. We're all set there. So let's just jump into the stitching this week. So since the last time I saw you, I've been able to add 4,715 stitches, which seems like a lot, but you'll understand why in a minute. And yeah, it's been a good week. I've had a decent amount of stitching time. I was able to complete the goals that I wanted, and yeah, it's been pretty good. So before we jump into my works in progress, I do have one special thing to share with you. It's been a while since I've had a fully finished object, an FFO, on this channel, and so I'm very excited to share with you one today. So the FFO I have is from Flossy Fox Shop, and this is Pixel Dragon Adventure Cell. So I ordered this white frame from Art to Frame, which was awesome because they let me sort of customize everything about it. I could customize the size of the frame, the mat, to exactly what I needed. So when I've been trying to decide a frame for this, I talked to my boyfriend, and he suggested that a white frame would look good with a white mat and kind of let the details in the piece kind of shine without the frame being too busy. And yeah, so here's what it looks like. I really like it. I'm really happy with it. I think it fits just perfectly in the mat, which is really cool. And it allows all those details to shine. And yeah, looks really good. So now that this is framed, the next step will be to hang it on my wall somewhere. So you might be seeing this in a video, maybe back there on the wall. I don't know, we'll see. But it'll be exciting to be able to look at this every day. So this was a piece by Flossy Fox Shop. As I said, it's called Pixel Dragon Adventure Cell. I stitched this 1/1 on a 25 count. I think it was called Green Apple by Fabric Flare. It was a Lugana or an even weave, I think. And yeah, one last time looking at all those little cute dinos and motifs in here. This was really fun to stitch up. It did take me a while, a little over a year to complete this, but super fun, and I really do love this piece. So here is my FFO for now. All right, now into the stitching for the week. So let's go ahead and start in with the temperature whips that I have. I have 3 pieces assigned to different numbers for what the temperature is for the week, and pull them out based on what the forecasted temperature is going to be. So for this week, my goal was to get in 300 stitches for Festive Frosted Pumpkin Cottage. All right, here is my starting point for Festive Frosted Pumpkin Cottage. As you can see, I've got a parked thread here, so the first thing I'll be doing is trying to fill in this moon here. I hope to get that completed, and then I'll continue with the house down there. So we'll see how far I get. This is supposed to get 300 stitches for temperature stitching. To do that, so I added 353 stitches. I went a little bit further than I needed to, which puts me at 20.01% of this piece, which is pretty cool. 1/5 of the piece is done, which doesn't seem like it because there's a lot to go, but here is where I'm at. And basically what I worked on was this moon here, and this little like railing on the house, and then I completed these bats. This bat up here is why I'm about 50 stitches over what I should have been because I just really wanted to get him done. So I think he looks super cute. I'm really happy with the progress. This is stitched on an 18 count. I think it's by Oblong Meow, and Yeah, 18 count Witch's Brew by Oblong Meow. I'm not sure if you can still get this on their Etsy site or not, but I'm really happy with this fabric choice and really happy with how it's all coming out. So the moon is now stitched completely in the orange. That's completely done. And that's a good thing because this lighter orange I was actually using as leftover from a kit that I had previously. And literally the last stitch was filled in and that's all the thread I had left. So I'm happy that all worked out. But this is super cute and will continue coming out because I think we're only at, let's see where we are on the goal. 1 second. So we are at 26% of the goal for temperature stitching. The goal on this one is 3,000 stitches, and that means we've completed 800. Next up, we've got the Put a Bird on It. This is again for temperature stitching, and the goal for this week was only to add 100 stitches, and that's all I did. So I was able to add 103 stitches. Here is what this is going to look like. 1 second while this loads. A lot of people are stitching this for EJ from the Sunshine Stitchers, her Put a Bird on It Sal, which is basically why I started it as well, but I really do love this piece. And so 100 stitches, that puts me at only 200 stitches for this piece. So still not very much, but starting to come together. And here is where I got to. So as you can see, I was able to add this sort of second flower and a little bit of the stem coming down here. And yeah, that was 100 stitches. This is stitched with a Be Stitch Me silk called Dandelion. And I'm stitching it 2/2 on a 32 count tartan green. I think this is a Witchilt maybe. Yeah, but so that puts me at 1.57% of this piece. But I do think it's really fun now that we're getting more yellow on the green. And I'm excited to keep going on this one. I probably am not following up with the Sal, but just kind of doing this on my own time and my own pace. But it is really fun. I'm glad I got this piece started. Okay, and the final piece for temperature stitching is Stack of Pancakes by Sammy Stitches. And the goal for this one was I only needed 200 stitches to meet the goal of 1,000 stitches for this category. But it was called 3 times, so I actually got sort of an extra day in, and here is what this is going to look like. That is the pancake piece. All right, here is my starting point for Stack of Pancakes this week. This is slated to get 300 stitches, and spoiler alert, I've already got 100 of the stitches in here. I didn't realize that I hadn't filmed the video first, but basically what I added was the section in right here, and filled in a couple of the gaps that were up here. So I'm going to be continuing to work sort of in this section over here. And yeah, hopefully 200 more stitches you'll see now. And let's go ahead and show where I'm at. So because I got the extra day in, I actually put in 308 stitches. And that puts me at 51.53%. So I am now at the 50%, over the 50% mark, which is super exciting. Because you are really starting to see the pancakes come in. So again, I think I worked on this section over here, maybe brought in a couple of these parked threads as well, but the stack of pancakes is really starting to form, which is super, super exciting. This is stitched on a 20 count black Aida, and I'm stitching it 2/1. So that's why everything is very tight here in the piece. Very full stitches, which is what I wanted for this piece, but also makes it a little more difficult to stitch sometimes. But I really like how this is looking. So now that we got 300 stitches in, we met the goal of 1,000 stitches for this piece. I'll pop a picture of the chart here that just shows that I was able to complete the temperature stitching goals for this week and the extra day for pancakes. And what that meant is we got to pick a new Witch Whip, which we'll go over in plans to see which one was the winner. So stay tuned for that. And those are my 3 temperature stitching pieces. Then the next one I worked on was SAGA. Let me grab that. So this is a piece by Long Dog Samplers, and here is what it's going to look like in the end. I'm stitching this on a 36 count vintage country mocha with Silks for You PR207 and stitching it 1/2. Since the last time I saw you, I was able to add 593 stitches, and that puts me at 28.71%. Here is my starting point for SAGA for this week. I'm going to be working on this today, and I will probably try to work on this section here, maybe bringing this sort of arch down, and then filling it in with one of these. I doubt I'll get to this part today, but hopefully I'll be able to get a good portion of the outline of that arch completed, and then we'll just have the little half arch on the side here, and then that row will be completed. So stay tuned for where I got. So here is where I'm at now. And basically this time I was able to add this section here. So I didn't get the center sort of pillar completed, the center column, but I did get the outline mostly completed for that mini arch. And then over here on this side, we've got a half arch left, and that will be the end of this second row. So we'll have a story once we get into that arch. But for the next week, I will be working on this center section to fill in this column here, and then probably some of the designs up here. So I don't think we'll have a story next week, but maybe in a couple weeks. So that's what I did this week, and here is the full piece so far. It's looking really good. And I'm on target for my leap day year goal. All right, and the last whip I've got to share with you was my focus project for the week, and that was a kit from Dimensions called Woodland Enchantress. Here is what she is gonna look like in the end. And this was so fun to pull back out. I really love this piece. I love Dimensions kits, and it was so much fun to pull this out again and get a little bit of progress. There's a lot to this kit, so I've still got a long way to go. All right, so here's my starting point for my focus piece for the week, Woodland Enchantress by Dimensions, and let's see how far I can get in this rotation. I probably will start by working in some of the blues under the trees there, and we'll see how far I get. But I was able to add in 3,358 stitches, which puts me now at 28.72%, so I'm a quarter of the way done. Now, the reason I was able to add so many stitches on this is a lot of them were half stitches. So I am still working in the background in all those blues and colors, but they're all half stitches. So, let me unclip this so I can show it to you. And here is what she looks like now, if I can unroll her. So as you can see, I worked a lot in these blues here. So I worked in the blues, carried them all the way over here around her head, and then also like a little bit around this section. I am almost at the end here. I think I've got about 15 more stitches to go this direction to reach the end. So the good news is it will fit on here. The bad news is it's going to be a little bit of a tight margin on this side, but that's okay. So I worked in all of those blues, and I could have continued with the blue here to get all the way to the end. I just needed a change. I needed a break from it. And since I had reached where her head starts here, I thought, why not start on her? So I was able to put in those greens for her headpiece and work on some of the browns in her hair. And those are all full crosses. Once you get to that part, she is all in full cross. So yeah, I think she's looking really good. I'm really excited to keep going on her and to pull her back out at some point. But this was really fun for Fancy Lady February to get her out and see a little bit more progress. It's really cool. This tree in the center here is now completely done. And this tree here is filled in all the way from here up. So there's no like missing stitches in here anymore, which is really cool. And yeah, the next thing, so in her headpiece here, there is a lot of backstitching that goes in here and sort of forms little leaves and twigs that are coming out of her headpiece. And then there's also like 20 different French knots just in her headpiece. So that will be a challenge, but something I'll probably maybe work on the next time. If I'm able to finish the backstitching next time, then I'll work on the French knots as well and try to get that section done. And I'll probably work on her face as well, since that needs filled in. I'm not doing it 1/1 on this piece just because this is Aida and that will be very difficult and it's a very stiff Aida. So I'm just gonna do it as called for with 2 strands over 1. But this is using all the called for materials in the kit. So all the floss that came with the kit, and this is the 18 count light blue Ada that came with the kit as well. But really, really exciting and good to see some progress on her. So far, I will say I'm really enjoying this rotation of being able to have some smaller goals, but also have one focus piece that I'm able to get a lot of work done. It really jumpstarts the progress that I can get on that one piece. And it's nice to kind of see that progress, but also kind of rotate through a couple different whips. So far this plans, the way I've set up my plans for this year is really working. Okay, next up I want to share the needlepoint that I showed last week. And also thank you so much to everybody for all your support and comments on the sort of extra projects that I had. Everybody was kind of in agreement that needlepoint should be counted as a whip because it is a work and it is in progress. And so I will be counting that as a whip. So I guess I kind of snuck that start in without having to go through my temperature stitching new start. But the one I'm working on is Heirloom Bear by Bucilla. And I don't have the cover photo right here, but I'll just show you where I'm at. Basically, since the last time you saw me, I was able to fill in a little bit more of this side here. And I also filled in this color of red here at the top section. So not too much work, but that was just one night of me kind of sitting down and wanting something easy to work on, and kind of got that done. So that is the progress. I don't know how well you can see that. But it's been really fun and nice to kind of have a project that doesn't require so much thinking and just is a little bit easier to go through. The other thing I shared with you last week was starting my knitting project. And thank you so much to everybody who commented and sort of helped me out and gave me tips or advice or sent me videos. Everyone was so helpful, and I really do appreciate that. I was kind of just teaching myself to learn in this little bubble here in my craft room, and it was nice to have all that input from all of you. So I do really appreciate that. I do want to specifically call out two people that really helped me. One was Jen from Jen's Fiberweb. She kind of sat down with me one evening on Instagram, and we were chatting back and forth and sharing videos, and she was kind of showing me how she holds her yarn in her hand, and all of that was super helpful. So thank you so much, Jen, for taking the time to do that. And also Carolina Evertote, she reached out and pointed me in the direction of some videos that she has on her channel of how to knit, and that was also really helpful. So Caroline, thank you for doing that as well. But basically, most of the advice was to maybe pick some different materials to start with learning the knit stitch, and maybe the materials that I had were a little bit more advanced and I wasn't quite ready to jump into them. So that's what I did. So I picked up, instead of the circular needles that I had, I picked up some wooden bamboo needles in size, I think it was size 10, so like a bigger size, and also some thicker yarn that would be easier for me to sort of learn the stitch. And I'm sort of happy to share this is the little piece that I knitted. So as you can see, it's still not perfect. Like, I've still got some issues here at the bottom where it's not quite even. I think maybe if I blocked this out, it would kind of stretch out and even itself out a little bit more. But as I worked my way up the piece, you can see it kind of gets a little bit more even, a little bit more cohesive. And yeah, so then once I got this far, Jen had the beautiful idea that this could just be a mug rug, a little coaster for my my coffee mugs. And that's exactly what I've been using it for. So I don't know if mug rug is actually a term or not, or if Jen just came up with that, but I loved it and I'm sticking with it. And yeah, so I got this far, and then I decided I was going to learn how to end it, and basically ended the thread up here, or ended the yarn, sorry. And that actually looks pretty good, I think, for my first time sort of casting off. I think that was a pretty good lesson, and I learned it pretty well. And now I've got this little coaster for me. So this was a lot of fun. And once I got into the middle section here, I really was getting a feel for the knit stitch and how I prefer to do it. And it just sort of flowed much easier. So I know that with knitting, what's going to have to happen is just practice. I'm going to have to just keep practicing the stitch until muscle memory kicks in. And I do have some more of this yarn, so I will probably continue practicing with this and the bamboo needles and kind of go from there. And then once I'm ready, once I feel like I have the knit stitch down, maybe I learned the purl stitch, then I will jump back into the bag project and hopefully feel a little more confident and see how that goes once I have a little bit more of the basics under control. But I'm super happy with this little swatch. I know it's not much, but yeah, it's my little coaster now. And it'll always be a memory of where I started with knitting. So yeah, so stay tuned. You'll see more of that on my channel in the future, just kind of as I pick it up, but no immediate plans with it. So speaking of plans, okay, let's jump into my plans. As you know, WhipGo, my 2 calls this month were the Kiss for 300 stitches, which I completed last week, and the Festive Frosted Pumpkin is supposed to get 2,000 stitches this month. With my temperature stitching from last week, I completed 800 total, so I've got 1,200 stitches left to go in that piece. So we'll see where temperature stitching takes it this week, and if it doesn't quite get all the way, I might have to sneak that in as a focus piece for the last week in February to see if I can get that WhipGo goal completed. So temperature stitching. Since the pancake piece completed its goal of 1,000 stitches, we picked a new Witch whip, and I had you all vote last week. The 2 choices were Autumn Quaker by Leela Studio or Festive Frosted Pumpkin, which you've all seen because I'm currently working on it. And I think everybody wanted a little bit of variety. So Autumn Quaker was the winner, and Autumn Quaker had 73 votes. The Festive Frosted Pumpkin had 26 votes. I would have been happy with either because I need the stitches for the goal for WhipGo for the Festive Frosted Pumpkin Cottage, but I also love Autumn Quaker, so I'm super, super happy that I will be able to put some stitches into that. So I went ahead before this video and looked at the upcoming temperatures. Here is a chart of what is upcoming. So for this week, Festive Frosted in the priority piece got 4 days of stitching, so that will get 400 stitches, which means that will reduce my WhipGo goal to 800 stitches left to complete after that for the month of February. My new start, Put a Bird on It, is getting a very slow start and did not get called at all this week, so no stitches will go into that. But Autumn Quaker was called 3 times, so already you will see 300 stitches in Autumn Quaker, and yeah, we'll keep working towards that 1,000, and then we'll switch the Witch Whip again. So those are kind of my temperature stitching plans. And then the last plan I've got is my focus piece for the week. It's hard to believe that this will be the final week of Fancy Lady February. This is the 4th week. And this week I'll be working on Lakapati. And this is a chart by Bella Filipina. Here is what she's going to look like in the end. Super, super pretty. And I just worked on her not too long ago for another goal. I forget why I pulled her out at that point, but I was able to get some really good progress at that point, and I didn't really want to put her down, so I'm kind of glad she's coming back out. But here is my starting point with her. So I was able to get in some of her dress there, start on that, and I think she's looking really, really good. So for this rotation, I'm going to start working on these reds over here and try to bring this down further. And I might actually even need to move the scroll frame during this rotation. So if I get low enough on this side and kind of bring everything down, it might be time to roll the scroll frame, in which case you might not see her head or her face the next time I pull this out, but here is my starting point. So I'm really excited to get that out this week and give it a little more progress. And yeah, like I said, February flew by, and I can't believe I've already had 4 weeks of Fancy Ladies, and it's been wonderful. So likely what's going to happen is the week after Lakapati, I will probably make Festive Frosted Pumpkin my focus piece for the week because I need the stitches in for WhipGo. Even though it's in my priority piece for temperature stitching, I think that won't be enough stitches. So I'll probably have to make that my focus piece. So you will see a big jump in progress for that piece the following week. Okay, I did have one more thing I wanted to share, just one piece of haul that I found, just because it's super cute and I hadn't seen this before, but this is from a Leisure Arts cross-stitch book called P is for Pooh, for Winnie the Pooh. And the reason I got this was this little sampler on the front. I just thought that was so cute that they incorporated Winnie the Pooh and Piglet into a little sampler with the alphabet. And the little saying here says, "So Piglet and Pooh walked hand in hand through the blustery day." And I just thought this was really appropriate for the time that everybody is going through right now. I feel like we're all having blustery days and the country is having blustery days, and it's just kind of wild out there. And to have somebody that you can walk hand in hand through all of that is so important. And we're all here walking through this blustery day together. So I just thought this was really cute and really timely, and I wanted to pick this up. I'm not sure when I'll start it or when I'll get it going, but yeah, I really liked this. This booklet also comes with a lot of different Winnie the Pooh stitches, so it's not just that sampler. There's like these cute ones up here at the top. This one with the balloon is really cute. Of course, Eeyore down here, super cute. So there's a bunch of stitches in this booklet, but the sampler was the one that I was really, really after. So that is kind of my haul for the week. Okay, and I've got one other special thing for you this week. It's a different segment that I filmed last night, and so I'm going to pop that in here. It is a longer segment, so this will be a long video, but I do hope you stay and check it out. It should be a lot of fun. I've got a special guest, and the special guest is sharing their stitching as well. So I'm going to pop that in here now. All right, so as you can see, Winston and I have a very special guest today joining us. This is my boyfriend, Andrew.
Hi.
And we thought it was time that he came on the channel and also shared a little bit of what he's been stitching, because he has been into it in the past little while. Not as much as me. He's not quite at that level yet, but he does have multiple whips. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of share what he's got. So I guess to introduce a little bit, let's start with when you started stitching. So
I started stitching when you were doing the unicorn.
Right. So that was spring of 23. So just over a year. But you probably stitch what? Maybe, I don't know how often he stitches. Not as frequently as me, which is fine. Maybe a couple times a week or...
Well, I would say for a while we were kind of doing it every day a little bit.
Yeah.
I was doing it when I was here a lot. But not all day, because I was working full time and coming home and just doing a little bit at night and then on the weekends too, but definitely not as frequent as you.
Yeah, and kind of going in spurts. Like sometimes he would stitch a lot and we'd stitch a couple days in a row, and then it might go a few weeks where he wouldn't have time to pick up the project.
Yeah.
But so just over a year he's been stitching. And how did you learn to stitch?
You taught me.
I guess I had my first student.
Yes, stitching. I've always been interested in stitching and embroidery. I just never really took the time to get into it, and then I think you doing it like sort of sparked my interest, and then having someone show me how to do, like, just even start the stitching was a big help, because I'm not the type of person to look at things online and kind of learn that way. So that was a big help, and then I just kind of and then having you there when I had questions made it easier to just get into the groove of stitching, and it's been really fun. So
yeah, and it definitely was easier to be in person and kind of show that to someone, and it was fun because then I could show him tricks like the loop start to make
a very good trick
a little easier for beginning his works.
Yeah.
And so little things like that just kind of went smoothly. But so should we just jump right into your whips? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of share the projects that he's been working on, starting with his oldest one, which is actually a fully finished object, so you'll get one of those. And then we'll move into his current whips, and then a little bit of future plans. So let's start with your big one.
Okay. So I only have one finish, but this is the one that I started when you were doing the unicorn, and it is the Pekinese.
Look at that. So I can hold it if you want to talk a little bit about it. So where did you get this pattern?
So I found this pattern on eBay. The Pekinese is very special to me because I had a Pekinese for a few years, and he passed away in 2019. So when I started thinking of what I wanted to stitch as my first one, the first thing that came to mind was the Pekinese. So I started looking for Pekinese patterns, and this one popped up online, and I got it, and it came as a kit, and I really enjoyed doing it. It was, I just think he's so cute.
That's right. So this was a full kit when you bought it, right?
Yes.
Did you buy it on eBay?
Yes.
On eBay. Okay. So I don't know who the designer of the kit was. I don't even know if we have any of the materials.
I think I do. I want to say the designer's like Pegasus or
Pegasus, maybe.
Yeah.
If we can find the materials, maybe I'll link it down below and just say who the designer of this pattern was if you're interested. But yeah, it was a full kit. It came with 14 count Ada.
Yeah.
So he was stitching 2 strands over 2. And the whole Pekinese is full coverage. So it's not like a gigantic piece, but everything is stitched in there. So as you can see in his face and nose, there is a lot of confetti in there, a lot of like color changes. And then, sorry about the glare. And then as you get further down his ears, there were just kind of like lines of color to form the pattern in his ear. But for this being the very first piece that he jumped into, I think he did a really good job.
Thank you.
And okay, so now let's talk about the frame.
The frame I found at Michael's, and I thought it went really well with the Pekinese. I love browns and creams and beiges. And what did I do here? I stuffed it back here with a sort of batting that my dad had given me from an old project. I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of creates like a nice sort of, I don't know what you call it, but almost like a pillow effect.
Yeah, there's
along
a nice
the edging.
There's a nice like dimension to the edging. There you can kind of see it at the bottom.
And the batting was really nice because it's so soft that you can sort of like add layers to it to like really sort of flatten the piece, and it doesn't become so stiff that you can't close the frame in the back. So good little trick, I thought, for people who are looking to frame things.
Yeah. And he, of course, did the framing all by himself. Did I help at all? No, I think you did this all by yourself.
I feel like you probably helped.
Maybe I helped a little bit. But yeah, turned out really good. He was stitching this in a hoop, right? So you were using a Q-snap for this.
No, a hoop.
A hoop.
It was one of the hoops you
Yeah, this was one of the
me.
first hoops. It was just kind of a plastic hoop that I had first bought when I was stitching. So he did it all in the hoop, and yeah, everything's 2/2 with the called for materials in the kit. So, and how long did this take? You finished this. When did you
I
finish
don't remember
it?
when I finished it. I feel like I took a break. It took a while. It took a few months.
It definitely took a few months. Maybe
Yeah.
it was like the fall sometime.
Yeah.
If he
I
started
think
it in the
so.
spring, it might have been the fall when he finished it.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like he was working on it every single day. And
Right.
even though this was his only project, it wasn't like he was stitching all the time. So, but yeah, pretty cool finish. So this hangs in our bedroom and above his dresser, which is where this lives. So that is his first FFL. More to come eventually. Okay, so now we're going to jump into his current whips, his current whip works in progress. And we're going to start with the one that he started first. So this is technically his oldest whip, which would have been started shortly after the Pekinese was finished, right? Because during the time of the Pekinese, you only had one whip. That was your only project.
Yes.
And then once you finished that, that's when he started additional ones. So the next project he is doing is another kit he found on eBay again. This one is by the Creative Circle. Here is their logo here. And the kit he's working on is not this one, but this one here with the deer in the forest. I guess it's called
Doe and Fawn.
Oh yeah, up here, Doe and Fawn, this one. So that is what he's working on. And this was a whole kit, so it came with 14 count Ada, and it also came with unsorted floss. So do you want to share how you sort of organized your floss and put it together?
Yes, this might have been, maybe it happened with the Pekinese, and so that's where I got the idea, or maybe you had something like this already. So
Yeah.
I just basically took a piece of paper, wrote down the numbers and the colors, and then hole punched, not very nicely, with a pen, next to those, and then just sort of put the thread through it.
Yeah, so he organized everything kind of in a way that
guys.
like some kits would come automatically, but this one was just unsorted floss.
Yeah.
The funny part is we do have a hole punch, but
that I actually have. I haven't
that
opened
he
it.
owns and has not opened, but he chose to just punch the paper with the hole or with a pen. Okay, so it came with all the materials that he needed, but he decided, I guess kind of after seeing me stitch on sweatshirts, he decided that he wanted to try stitching on a piece of clothing. So instead of a sweatshirt, he found an old sweater that he wanted to try this on. So here is where he's at.
Is the
Here's the sweater.
Here's the sweater, and then there. Hold it up this way.
This is kind of hard to see because so he's using the water soluble canvas, which because he's not stitched in a while, this stuff has become so stiff. So we might have to figure out a new plan once he comes back to this of how to kind of get this going again because it's very stiff. And if we add water to it, it's going to dissolve, which won't be good. But he decided that in the sweatshirt, he wanted the piece to be in the lower left-hand corner right here. And then it would sort of come up from the bottom towards the center.
Yeah.
So you started
The
with,
grass and the legs and the feet of the deer.
And kind of got, this is the mother deer, and then this one here is the fawn coming in a little bit, and then also sort of worked up some of the greens here. We'll pull it forward just so you can see some of the colors. It's got like a light green, a couple different greens there, and then a couple different browns in the deer. So he was working on that and actually was making a lot of progress. And this was also stitched with 2 strands of thread from the kit. What we're not sure about, and we won't really know until it's completed, is how this will sort of stretch out on the sweater once it's done. Because this material is...
It's not a sweatshirt, so it's a knitted sweater, basically. And there's kind of pre-existing holes. So I don't really know what I went through.
So we're not exactly sure, like, once we take away the water-soluble canvas, will this sort of rearrange itself on the sweatshirt, or will it kind of hold the shape that he's got? We're not really sure. But yeah, I think you did enjoy stitching on this, right?
I did. Yeah, I did. It was very smooth because you don't like watching you stitch through a sweatshirt felt very kind of like painful in a way, like hearing the thread pull and feel like seeing how hard you had to work to pull it through sometimes. This was much easier. It just kind of
probably because it like found a hole that it needed to go in. The needle found the hole, and then it was easier to kind of like pull it through.
It was harder because there's so much fabric that like you have to sort of clip it to the hoop, and then you have all this loose stuff hanging around. So that got kind of cumbersome. Not as easy as the Pekinese. And I think that's kind of where I lost my momentum, was just like, okay, this is getting a little
tedious.
Yeah.
But he made really good progress and he's got a good start. So hopefully eventually he'll pick this back up and we'll see some more of the deer come to life. Although this is going to be interesting with this.
I know.
Water-soluble canvas. So note to any of you who are trying to stitch on water-soluble canvas, this has probably sat for how many months now? Maybe like 6 or 7 months?
Probably, at least.
7 or 8 months?
Yeah.
So if you're stitching on anything water-soluble canvas and you're just putting it aside for months and months, just beware that this might harden and make it really difficult to stitch on. But I still think this is a really cool idea. I think it's going to look really cool on the color of sweatshirt he chose, because the grass is kind of going to blend in a little bit and it will just kind of go in with the green and it'll provide a nice background for it. But yeah, so that is his first whip.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have any stats as far as like percentages that he's at or how many stitches he's done, because all of these he's stitching from a paper pattern, and so he's not like counting stitches, and he just kind of does what he wants to do.
It's enough for me to even try to finish a project, so I can't really keep track of everything.
But yeah, so that is whip number 1. Okay, the next one you started was...
This one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. This one I have been working on, though it's taken time because I have taken long breaks, but it's one of my favorites.
Do you have the cover sheet that came with this for the kit?
Yeah. Where is she?
Hold on. Okay, we're back. So this is the cover sheet, another kit that he bought on eBay, right?
No, I found this one online.
Oh yeah, this was just directly through the website,
Yes.
right? So this is Jann Designs shop in the UK. So the website is there, janndesigns.co.uk. And here is what he's stitching. Mariah Carey MC1. So what made you pick this pattern?
Well, I love Mariah Carey.
He's a huge Mariah
And
fan.
I just started kind of Googling Mariah Carey cross-stitch patterns, and there's not really a lot out there.
Yeah.
And then I found this designer who does a lot of sort of celebrity portraits, and this was the only Mariah Carey pattern she had. So probably not the picture I would choose to do of Mariah Carey, but I also think it's kind of hilarious, and I still love it, so I'm doing it.
It's also kind of clearly Mariah. Like, you know who this is immediately, and it kind of just is Mariah,
Yeah.
who she is now. So it's kind of fun.
And I'm doing this one as a gift for a friend who's also a fan of Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And it was his birthday. It was meant to be his birthday gift this past January, but because I'm so bad at finishing projects, it's gonna probably be just a random gift or maybe a gift next year.
Well, and originally it was supposed to be his Christmas present.
That's true.
And then when it didn't get done for Christmas, it was supposed to be his birthday present in January.
Yeah.
So now we'll just see what
Just
holiday
a
comes
random
around.
gift of kindness.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But definitely check out this website if you're interested in like celebrity portraits or anything, because they did
Yes.
have a lot of different styles and
She has some really
people
good
on there.
ones. I might have to go back and do some more, like the Princess Diana one.
Yeah.
Or the Queen Elizabeth or something.
And again, this was the full kit. So it came with the Aida. It came like 14 count Aida. It came with all this is with anchor stranded cottons. So not DMC, but anchor threads. And then of course the chart and everything. So, and it didn't take that long to get here once you ordered
No.
it, right? I think it was pretty quick shipping it here to the US.
Yeah.
So that is whip number 2, but let's look at his progress. There she is.
Doesn't she look crazy?
She's coming together. I keep telling him every time he pulls this out, I'm like, you just need to finish those eyes because
I know.
her eyes look crazy right now.
It's a little scary. And also the fact that I have all this thread like just makes her look like an even crazier
Well,
lady.
yeah. So then maybe we should explain what this thread
Yeah.
is and why you have it all here.
So with the Pekinese, you taught me to sort of pull, like when you're finished with the thread, to pull it through the stitches in the back, and then just let that be.
Yeah.
And I know that it doesn't really mess up the front of the project, but it just kind of, I don't like the way it feels when I'm like tugging on things and like pulling on the back of things, and I feel like it sort of tightens things in a weird way. And so for this one, I just decided, well, I'll just like sort of pull the thread through anywhere, back through the front, and then I'll stitch over that thread at some point. And then when that happens, then I'll be able to cut this off.
Which is definitely a method that some people use. Some people stitch exactly this way, where they will pull the thread to end it. They'll pull it off to the side so that you just stitch over it in the next couple of stitches. And then once you stitch over it, you can clip the thread really close and send it to the back, and it's fine. It's like hidden and covered.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, this looks crazy. Like this would drive me nuts to have all these threads everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's a method that really works for him and has been working. So yeah, I think it's just whatever style you want to stitch on. And in this piece, you basically started in the center, right?
Yes.
Because we found the center of the fabric to make sure everything would fit. And he started in the center. Again, this is completely full coverage, so everything in her is stitched. And obviously you can see it's bigger than the Pekinese, so he's like stepping up a notch.
Yeah.
And yeah, your method of stitching this is what? You usually pick a color.
So I will pick, I guess, like, I started in the middle, and then that would determine what color I was doing. And then maybe I'll do, I don't know what you call these, but like a
strand of floss?
strand of floss in that color that I'm working on. And then when that strand is done, if I want to continue it, then I will, and I'll pull another strand from my pile, or if I feel like switching to a new color that's sort of in the same vicinity, then I'll switch to that color and then start working on that strand of thread.
And that's why he's kind of been a mix of things all over the place. And so that's why you see some colors have, like, he's kind of traveling with it and going cross country. And then some colors are completely filled in because that's a section that he's finished. Some sections are not finished because he hasn't picked those colors.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It totally works for getting it done. And because it's full coverage, you don't have to worry about traveling in the back because everything's going to be covered and nothing is going to come through anyway.
The back is a mess.
Do you want to show them the back? So, she actually looks kind of good, just a little crazy.
Yeah.
But you can see the wild travels.
Yeah.
I mean, he is not afraid to go across
Oh yeah.
the whole piece.
I am
to
too
travel.
lazy to like stop something and then start it again. So if I can travel, then I will.
We were talking about this the other day because I think the thing that he does not like about stitching is changing colors or having to stop, rethread your needle, start again. And so, which is ironic because he picks full coverage pieces that have a lot of like color changes and confetti, but kind of makes that work. I think we'd be curious to see what it's like with him with a monochromatic piece where it's just one color and he can just kind of just go with it. And then you don't have to load your needle as much. So you might enjoy that more. But do you want to show them your little needle minders?
Yes. So Mariah is known as the butterfly, or one of her biggest singles is butterfly.
Yeah.
And so the needle minders are all butterflies. I don't know if I can.
It's kind of like her logo these days.
Yeah.
And where did you get the needle minders?
I think they were all from Etsy. So this one right here is sort of colorful, but I don't know if I'll be able to get a good shot of it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to get a clear picture, but maybe we can take we'll just take a picture and I'll see if I can pop it in here to.
So that one's like the one colorful one, and then the other, there's only two right now. There's
one down here in this corner too.
Yeah. So those two were from a different seller on Etsy, and I just kind of I couldn't make up my mind which one I wanted.
Yeah.
So I think I bought there's three of these gold ones. I bought those first and then found the colorful one. I was like, oh, I really like that one too. So I bought all four, and then I was like, I'll have 4 needle minders on here because sometimes you end up in a corner and it's a little far from your needle minder. So you can use multiple needle minders.
I just realized I'm supporting Mariah with my butterfly today too.
That's true.
This was the first project he also stitched on a Q-snap.
Yes.
So did you have a preference between a Q-snap and a hoop, or one you liked better than the other?
I like the ease of the Q-snap in terms of adjusting things, but I will say it feels heavier than a hoop and maybe a little bit harder to get into certain corners because you've got this sort of thing in your way. So up here at the top, I'm gonna have to move it down to continue to the top of her hair, but already I'm starting to when I'm pulling through these few that I did, I'm having to angle the needle a certain way to be able to come through. But,
and I guess honestly, since you don't end your thread on the back, you end your thread on the front, it probably would be beneficial if we switch this around so that here it's sitting in the Q-snap, but if it was sitting on top, you wouldn't have as much trouble going around these areas. But we can switch that around sometime. And this fabric, he doesn't have a lot of extra room, so it's not like we can just kind of move this Q-snap all over the place. It's limited a little bit with the fabric, but Q-snaps are definitely heavy and definitely a different experience than
heavy
stitching with a hoop. So,
but I do love this one. I think I'm enjoying it more than the sweater, and I'm enjoying it just as much as the Pekinese, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Yeah, I definitely have a thing, I guess, for faces. The Pekinese face with long fur and Mariah's face with long hair.
And the color scheme is pretty similar in this one to the Pekinese. But we think he's probably at least 50% done, right? I would say maybe 50 or 60% done.
Yeah.
Because obviously the face is the big part, and then the hair comes down around here, so there's a lot of fill in here at the bottom. Yeah. But he's almost at the top here, and then it doesn't get too much wider than this, I don't think.
No.
So
I think I've already reached the ends on both.
Okay, so maybe he's reached the sides.
Yeah.
So probably 60-70% done.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's whip number 2.
Fly away, butterfly.
All right, and the final whip he's got is another piece stitched on fabric. And this one we have no image for because this is an image that he found online just by searching for Mariah Carey cross stitch. But it was just a pixelated image that someone had put up that wasn't a cross stitch pattern, right? It was just
no, it wasn't.
It was just a pixelated image of Mariah Carey. And he showed it to me and I said, well, you could just use that image as the pattern if you wanted to stitch it.
I think I saw it and it was like a sort of done as a beading project at first, and I was like, oh well, it's already on a grid, so I can just make those the X's. And then I found a shirt because the backstory is I was going to Vegas I was invited to Vegas to see Mariah Carey this past summer. So I was like, oh, well, I need something to wear by the pool, and I wanted to have some Mariah Carey merch. So I decided that I would put her on a shirt. But I did not have the time to do the Mariah Carey piece I was working on. I wasn't going to try to do that on a shirt. So I found this little...
So let's show the shirt first. So this is just kind of what material is this? Linen. This is a linen shirt. And honestly, if you look at the linen close up, it's just like linen. Well, that's kind of hard to see. But it's basically just like the linen we stitch on, just much finer count. So I don't know if this linen shirt would be like a 56 count or something, but he's not stitching it on the X's from the shirt. So he basically is using water-soluble canvas again to stitch it. And what he decided to do is the piece ends here. This is the edge of it. And it's basically just this part of her face from here over. So the rest, there's nothing on this side of it.
No.
And he thought it'd be cool to, again, have this in the lower left-hand corner and kind of her face coming up. And honestly, he got really far. Like, you already can tell that this is Mariah. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like the swoop of her bang that's coming down here. And so a couple things with this project that happened to sort of stall it was he was doing great on this side where we're using the water-soluble canvas up. The canvas was not wide enough to cover the whole image. So you'll see like right here where there's like these little... Get above the light. You can see where the water-soluble canvas ends right here. He had to put two pieces of canvas together and then use the stitching to combine it all the way up, which is what this row of stitches right here is. It's a row of stitches just to combine the water-soluble canvas, which was difficult in and of itself, right? Like that is a challenge. But then what else happened with this?
So, I mean, that was hard enough. And then what I realized, I think, is that one side of the canvas is shinier than the other. And when I did it on this side, I made sure to do it correctly so that the more dull side was facing up. So there wouldn't be so much of a glare while I was stitching. And then I sort of forgot to do that as I continued with another panel of this canvas. And so now it's like when I'm trying to line up the two canvases, that's harder. Mm-hmm. And then even just seeing the canvas is harder because of the glare.
I think the seeing is the hardest part. And on camera, it looks like it's all glaring, but in person, this side does not have as much of a shine to it.
Yeah.
So this side, he was able to stitch pretty easily. Like, I don't think you had many issues stitching this side, and it went pretty quickly.
I was on a roll. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this on time. I'm going to finish it before I actually make it to Vegas. And then, of course, something happened, and
so this
didn't end up getting
But
finished.
you did get a lot done, even on this piece of canvas.
I did.
It just was harder for him to see and kind of more frustrating. But again, there's not much more to go on this.
There isn't. It's just that it started to kind of curl on itself, so it was becoming harder to work with, and then it was time for me to go to Vegas, and then I was just gone.
Yeah.
And then now it's curling even more, and it's getting crunchy like the deer sweater, so this might not be a real finish. But I do love this pattern.
So close. He has to finish it.
This would even just be like a cool, like not on a shirt, just something to have on a wall or framed. So that might be what I end up doing when I feel like it.
Okay, next, I want to just show them. Let's talk about the thread colors. So do you see all those different shades of brown and shades of brown in here. So
again with the shades.
shades of brown, that's his thing. So let's talk about that. What you decided that you wanted it in like a brownish golden color, right? Or how did you come up with
I
that?
think maybe I was thinking at first it would just be something black, like because it's a silhouette, and then I thought, well, it would be fun to do, I don't know, a color of some sort, and I think these colors are very Mariah Carey, and also I think kind of like her hair color tends to go from like brown to gold, and it looks like the color of the one of her albums. Honey.
Yeah, Honey, I think, or Butterfly, or one of the two.
Yeah.
I think maybe Butterfly.
Yeah. So that's why I chose these colors. And what I did, instead of just doing like a solid, like one brown the entire way, I sort of mixed in different shades that I thought would go with it, so to kind of create a little more depth and something interesting. So there's like beiges and tans and yellows and some oranges maybe. But they all came from the Pekinese, I think.
The Pekinese and then some of my stash.
Yes.
I think you had used some leftovers from
Yeah.
a piece that I had done earlier. But everything came from stash. So nothing in here is... There was no called for because it wasn't even a cross-stitch
Right.
pattern. So it was just a monochromatic pixelated piece. But you can see he also... I'm going to pull it front again. There are blends in here, which I don't know how well you're able to see that, but you can see it in this strand that's dangling here. There's like 2 different colors of floss that he's using in this stitch, and nothing was sort of charted. He just kind of pulls a color or a blend or a brown as he goes. So he has like all the browns that are left over from my projects and the browns that are left over from the Pekinese, and he's just been kind of, as he goes, picking what the next color will be and then kind of stitching with it.
Yeah.
So it ends up looking really cool and giving it a lot of texture that wouldn't really be there if it was just a solid color. And yet there's no sort of rhyme or reason to anything happening. But it's really cool. This is one that I hope he does finish, because I think it already looks so cool and he's so close that
it is good to see it again.
I think it needs to be worked on. So that's his newest whip.
Yes.
And the other Mariah Carey that you saw is kind of his current project that
she's
more
priority.
actively working on, because that is a gift for someone, so he
Yes.
wants to get that done. So that's his like cross-stitch journey so far. He's got his one FFO and then kind of 2 projects that are in timeout and one that he's currently working on. And so do you want to go ahead and share? He's also been collecting some other patterns.
Yes.
Hasn't started anything yet, but he's been collecting some patterns. So do you want to just go through and share some of the patterns you've collected and these are things that he might start in the future or might work on, but definitely have an interest in doing.
So the pattern world is obviously so extensive that I kind of found some and I was like, oh, I want these, and then I had to realize I needed to stop because I can't even finish the projects I'm actually working on, so I don't need to be collecting patterns. But this was one of the first ones that I found. I think my original idea was to do this on like sweatshirts, because I love skiing and I love these little 1980s skiing figures. There's some on the back too. And
let's just pull it a little closer so everybody can see. So they're basically like these kind of skiing people. Is that an angel skiing?
There's an angel and a devil.
Oh yeah, the devil's on this side. That's funny. And this poor guy, I guess, can't be skiing. This would be me on my way to the to the lodge. So there's some of them, and then there's a few more on the back as well. And you also get this cute little skiing border. Sorry, the light is really bad down here. Of skiers that you can have as a border around your piece. And then that one as well. This is by Designs. It's called Think Snow. And I think it's from 1981. So this is definitely an oldie but a goodie. So we'll see what he does with this one in the future, but maybe on sweatshirts or...
Yeah, I think sweatshirts.
Yeah. So that was the first one.
The second one is this Cityscapes by Moonlight.
looks like it's called Great Big Graphs
Yes.
is the company. And
I'll bring this up, but I thought this one was really fun. Again, it kind of I love the things kind of from the 80s and 90s, so this gave me that vibe. And living in New York, made it feel special, so that's why I got this one. I don't know when I'll do it, but...
And this, again, was not a kit, it was just the pattern. Yeah. And I think, actually, what part is fully stitched? The top section of these, the blue section is fully stitched, so that would be like full coverage. But then once you get down here into the reflection, the black is not actually stitched. So I think both of these, right? Yeah, the black section is not stitched. So everything, it was just stitched on a black Aida or black sweatshirt or black fabric of some sort. So it's not actually as big of a piece stitch count wise as you would think, because there's a lot of negative space there. But it looks really cool because it definitely gives it that nighttime city feel with the lights on and everything. So yeah, we'll be excited to see that one.
Yeah.
If he gets around to
If I get around to it. So more faces.
His favorite.
And more pop stars. I am a huge Spice Girl fan. So I don't know who to start with, but I guess we'll start with Scary Spice.
Now these are just the patterns themselves, so we can't actually like pull this up closer. We don't have a finished image, but these are patterns that he ordered. Where did you got these on eBay?
I found these on eBay because I was searching Spice Girl patterns, and this is what popped up.
But they're a pattern clearly from a magazine. We don't know what magazine, but it's from 1998.
Yep,
is the year, and we just got a few of the pages, so we don't actually know what magazine it's in.
Yeah,
but we think it
might say on my eBay order. I'll have to look into.
That's true.
But, so that was Scary. This is Posh Spice, my favorite Spice Girl, but probably my least favorite pattern of this group.
It is unfortunate that his favorite of the group, and it's just kind of it's the one that doesn't necessarily look like Posh.
Yeah.
You can tell it's her, but also it's just not the best one.
But also maybe the funniest, so maybe that's the one I would do. But anyway, and then here's Baby.
So fun.
Here's Sporty. Clearly, this was made after Ginger left the group because there's no fifth Spice Girl, and Posh
Ginger
has her short hair.
So now, what do you think your plan with these will be? Stitch them individually? Stitch them like all side by side in like a big giant piece? Or
that's a good question. I think maybe I had thought of doing like Sporty on a sweater or some sort of sweatshirt because that would be fun. But now I just had this idea that maybe they kind of go in quadrants, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they can be like one big thing, kind of like the Beatles.
Yeah, that would be fun. Especially since there's only 4.
Yeah.
Since Ginger's not in it anyway. You could do that. And these are 117 high by 83 wide. So it says the design size is 8 inches by 6 inches. I'm assuming that's on a 14 count. If you stitch it on 14 with
8 by 6.
2 strands. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty small.
So you could easily do that, and you could make it smaller too if you stitch on a different count, and then kind of put them all together. But that's a fun like future project.
Probably have fun with Scary's hair.
Yeah,
kind of maybe one color.
Yeah, because right now it's all. How does that keep happening? Right now it's all one color, her hair. Yeah, but you could almost do the same thing you did with Mariah and just choose random browns.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And like give it some texture. But really fun.
Yeah. Those are the girls.
So this is the girls. I think that's kind of all the patterns you've bought.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
And then should we share the very last thing?
Yeah. It's the big one.
This is one, I guess, also eBay.
Yes. I don't know how I found this one.
And it was kind of a deal, right? Or you like it was very cheap.
Yeah, it was very vague. It was very cheap, and it said it was a cross-stitch kit, but there was no real information on it, so we were kind of like unsure when we were looking into it, like what it really was and how it could possibly be a cross-stitch kit. Yeah. But because it was so cheap, I just had to buy it, and I was like, well, I'm just going to see what what comes in the mail.
Because it was definitely a deal. So what comes in the mail is this gigantic box. Now, if you hold that up a little closer so you can see the picture itself, it's hard to tell that that's cross stitch. It looks like there's some embroidery in there or some like long stitches, but turns out it is just cross stitch. Like that's all it is. But I think it's just a massive, massive piece.
Yeah.
So this is a kit from a company called Cherish. Clearly it was a Chinese company or a Chinese,
I think it's Chinese
brand.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and we're going to open the box now for you to see what all's inside and what comes with it. I'm just trying to see here. So the full piece is is 780 by 420. So this is like a massive full coverage. This might actually be the size, maybe not quite the same, as big as my stitching shelf that I'm doing from Heaven and Earth Designs. So that means there's like probably hundreds of thousands of stitches in this piece. And I don't think he realized that, or I realized that when he got it.
Because it was so unclear, and when we were talking about it, you were like, oh, maybe, like, I don't remember what they gave us on the listing.
Yeah, I don't think we had the information of how many stitches were there. But let's go ahead and open it and show them what all's inside, because it's hilarious.
So that's the sleeve, and then this is the box itself.
It's very nice. Like, this is a very well packaged kit. I also don't know what year this is from or when it was like packaged or made, but it's a very nice put together kit. And so the pattern itself comes in this really beautiful like paged book. You can just like flip through it a little bit, but you can see like the pattern is all in color here, and it's like pages and pages of pattern, but also really well done in that you've got like a picture that kind of shows you exactly what's on what page, so that you can see the breakdown of pages here. And it's a very well organized pattern in a nice booklet here. And clearly they do other kits and pieces too, because they've got other images on the
They do.
on the back. So yeah, the pattern was nice.
This is the fabric.
You get a massive piece of Aida. I think this is 14 count, but I think we'd actually have to measure, because there's on the front there's a bunch of different options. It says like the dimensions for a 14 count, for an 11 count, and a 9 count. So I think we'd actually have to measure to see what size came with this kit. Or maybe it says somewhere in the booklet and we just haven't looked at it yet. But this is, we haven't even, did we open this up?
No.
No, we haven't even opened this.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
But it is massive. Like, it is folded multiple times in there, and it's a huge, huge piece.
It feels like a bed sheet.
Okay, so then we get into the threads themselves, which I don't know what brand they are. It might just be their own brand called Cherish.
Say Cherish.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
But here's sort of the floss card that they gave.
There's another one.
There's another one there with some of the colors. So really, really pretty colors. Everything's already tied around these drops, which most times that's not the case. If you get a kit with a floss drop, you kind of have to put it on there yourself. So that's actually really nice. Everything's already put in the order, in the number order, so you don't have to sort anything. But it's not just those threads. Then just lift the box up. So you can see these are packages of multiple skeins of thread, like multiple skeins of thread. So
this is going to be a big
it's
project.
A huge project. You also get, I think, is this a scissors? Yeah, you also get this little like scissors that says Cherish. I don't know if you can, how you can see that. No, maybe you can't. But it says Cherish on the scissors itself. And yeah, so like I said, really well packaged kit. Just way bigger than even I thought, but way bigger than he thought it would be for sure. So this has not been started yet, but you were also talking about like possibly cutting it up into a smaller chunk, right?
I could if
like,
I wanted to.
We were saying if he just wanted a glimpse of the waterfall and sort of the reds and oranges of the trees, he could just cut just this section off. This section, and just stitch that and kind of eliminate all of this, which is a possibility. And especially since the pattern is so well organized and well chopped off, you could easily cut those pages off if you wanted to. We also talked about making it a shared project where we'd both work on it. So he'd work on it some, and then I would work on it some, and maybe eventually it would
I think that might be our best bet.
get some progress. Otherwise, I don't know if it will get done in 40 years.
No.
But it's also very fun and just kind of a cool piece that he was interested in.
Yeah, I'm glad I bought it because I still haven't seen it show up again anywhere. I have seen the other patterns, some of the other patterns from this Cherish brand
on eBay.
Yeah, but they're kind of like sort of more kiddie ones with like teddy bears and things.
Okay.
So I haven't seen this specific one in a while.
Yeah.
So definitely feels like a special one, and I am glad that I got it.
And it is really pretty. Like, can you imagine this finished on your wall? It would look stunning. I mean, it would take up the entire wall, but it would look incredible. I really do love the colors. Oops, sorry about the glare there. But I really love the colors of the red and the orange. And just the whole scene in itself is really pretty.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and maybe you'll see some work on this eventually.
See you in 40 years.
Yeah. But, yeah. And I think that's sort of it.
I think so.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, just that I am enjoying the cross-stitching, and I'm so proud of you on how far you've come just in this short amount of time. And I'm glad that you are able to share something that you love with people who love it just as much. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's definitely been supportive and not judgmental at all of the piles of whips I have and piles of patterns and piles of kits and piles of floss. He's like definitely been supportive the whole time. And it is fun that we both are into this hobby, even if it's not at the same level, because we do have nights at home where we just like make a pot of tea and sit at the table and stitch together, or we'll try watching a show or something and just stitch together. And that is always really nice and lovely to just chat and stitch together. So
try, because I can't watch TV and stitch at the same time. I end up
it is difficult.
I'll either make a mistake stitching, or I will just not watch the TV because I have to focus on the stitching. So
it is very hard to do that. But yeah, we thought it'd be time for him to come on here and kind of share his progress. So we don't know how often we'll bring him back. I guess it depends how much he stitches and what progress he's got. Yeah. But eventually he'll come back again, and you'll get to see updates on what he's been working on. And we wanted to share this little special segment with you guys, and just kind of fill you in on that.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. All right, I hope you enjoyed that special segment. We had so much fun filming that and kind of going through his old projects and seeing where he was at. And really fun. So thank you for watching that. And he'll be back at some point once he gets some progress in, and maybe it'll be like a bi-monthly thing, a check-in or something. But he'll be back to share more of his works as well. And I think that's all I've got for you today. So keep running if you're a runner. Always keep stitching, and be kind to whoever you meet on your journey. Bye for now. Until the next stitch.